Welcome back. Welcome back. We've got a real interesting topic here for you today. Jimmy's been playing the social media game out there. I'm sure a few of you have noticed and maybe already getting tired of his
I love me some
posting.
Facebook. I love it.
But
I feel like we're 10 years late to that game, by the way.
Oh,
like, there's some millennial making millions off something else. And if this was 2006, we'd be killing it.
Yeah, I boycotted for a long time. I'm a natural introvert. I'm not into it, but I forced myself to get over that. But it comes pretty naturally to you.
But Facebook's not cool if like old people like us are using it. My wife says all the kids are like on Instagram.
Yeah, it's good. But anyways, Jimmy stumbled upon this thing on Facebook. That's why we brought that up. We're part of a couple real estate investor forums and some groups. And tell us how you found out about this cash flow insurance concept. What is this?
It was just on the Show Me Deals or something Show Me on the Facebook closed group. And it basically said cash flow insurance. And, one of the things I don't want to say anxiety about, but if there is another economic downturn and we're not collecting rent, that's good. We're going to put us in a bad spot. So if I could buy an insurance policy that protected our rent, I would buy it in a second. So there was like a Facebook blurb that said rent insurance, and I instantly clicked on it and called the guy.
Yeah, and one thing to know is Jimmy and I are both big fans of the Austrian school of economics. You can go to Mises.org to find out more about that. But one of the foundational, it's one of the foundational like philosophies, and one thing we try to always think about when we're coming up with business ideas or thinking about our real estate investing business is how can we protect against the downside with all this funny money that's floating around, and basically avoid what happened to a lot of real estate investors in 2008. Because that's where we really started paying attention, I think both of us, to the financial markets. We're both in the military at that point and just wondering what the hell is going on.
And we've said on other videos, like, no one likes paying their insurance premium. No one likes forking over money to insurance companies. But people do it all day long. It's called buying a put. If you can protect yourself and you have to pay a small premium to do it any day of the week. On The Big Short, the two young guys, that's what they specialized in. They realized that black swan events, or they realized they could buy insurance very cheaply on the market for events people didn't think were likely to happen. Yeah. And that's essentially what they did in the movie.
Yeah, and speaking of black swan, we've got our gal Natalie Portman here to teach us about what a black swan is. Actually, Nassim Taleb is going to teach us about it.
He's my guy. Bob's coming around, but this guy is a genius, and he helped me understand the value of buying insurance and buying puts. And so, like I said, we did feel a little incomplete in our portfolio is we had no put, no protection for the cash that we bring on a monthly basis. So once again, this is why I jumped on this cash flow insurance.
So give me some broad strokes on Anti-Fragile. And Jimmy's been bugging me for months to read this book, and I got a stack of 10 or 15 I'm working my way through. But he says this is good shit. So why should I read this book? Why should everybody else read this book, Jimmy?
Because you have to get comfortable with the concept of the only constant in life is change, and then we all know there's going to be big movements in the market. We all know there's going to be volatility. And anybody can make 4% in a qualified plan in times of not volatility, where wealth changes hands and people either get destroyed or benefit, or in times of high volatility.
Yeah, what's the blood in the streets quote? When there's blood in the streets, that's like the time to buy, or when money's made, right?
Yeah.
That's a classic thing is like, yeah, when everybody else is losing their mind and think, Chicken Little, the sky is falling, that's a time when you make the moves and whatever. You can be a Monday morning quarterback, but it's the people that can weather those storms and have seen it coming that end up profiting the most.
So the book Anti-Fragile, Taleb just takes you through his ideas on how to become anti-fragile, what he does to do it, and he gives you examples of how people are incredibly fragile. So, for example, someone investing in a 401k, their whole nest egg is in the market, only the market. It's diversified amongst stocks, but it's all in the market. And we all know that as the S&P goes, that's generally how every stock investment goes. So they take these huge risks for these 3 or 4% returns, and it's extremely fragile. For taking all the risk when the market does crash, those people seeking those 4% returns lose everything.
And you have no control. You're investing in these large companies that you have no say in what happens with them. I mean, you never know. I mean, you look at stuff like, the Volkswagen scandal. I'm not sure how that actually played out in their stock price, but this large institution was shown to be like completely fraudulent, and
even though it's a silly thing with a bunch of hippies controlling the catalytic converters.
Sure, we don't need to get into
we won't get into that
all
tonight.
that,
but his whole point is when you come up with an investment plan, you better consider what happens during a black swan event. You better consider the worst case scenario, and you better protect yourself. And the best place to do that really is through insurance. That's why we talk about a lot about a life insurance. And that's why we both own some gold. We own a lot of real estate. But in a time of volatility, we want to be positioned to grow. We don't want to just be robust. We want to be able to thrive during a volatile time.
Yeah.
And I love that quote. Wind extinguishes a candle but energizes a fire.
Yeah. And one of the things we've done with building out our core business model, which is our rent-to-own model, we're at a below median price point. We analyze every deal from two standpoints. One, do we get equity day one? And two, is there cash flow? My first real estate purchase was in August of 2006. I bought a townhouse 2 blocks from the beach in Florida. I don't have to tell people out there how bad a diet. No, it was just my personal house. I was straight out of the academy.
But obviously, you knew you weren't going to live in Florida for 30 years.
No,
and max out the mortgage.
Yeah. And I mean, at the time, I think I put zero down. I mean, they were just giving out loans like crazy. Person straight out of the academy, never held a job before, had never had a paycheck, had no credit history, and they stroked me a loan. And I was able to buy a townhouse at the top of the market in Florida, and I ended up, 2 years later selling that house for like a $20,000 loss.
So it was a straight appreciation play.
No, I was thinking I'm going to buy this house and I'm going to live in it, and
you'll move in 2 years.
I'm going to pay rent anyway, so
My point is that you had one plan. You were fragile in that deal because you had one out.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, very good. I was counting on future appreciation and some principal pay down and just the equity play, not the cash flow play. Needless to say, buying real estate in 2006 in Florida was a bad idea, but
But if you had a lease-to-own strategy, or you had even a rent-own strategy, you could have weathered the storm. You would have been more anti-fragile.
Yeah, exactly.
So back to cash flow insurance and our new buddy Charles Asinger, who's selling us.
Well, first we got to talk about what is insurance. Let's break it down for folks. So insurance is a means of protection from financial loss. It is a form of risk management primarily used to hedge against the risk of a contingent, uncertain loss. So we have a lot of insurance. We have life insurance. We have property insurance. We have flood insurance on properties.
Earthquake insurance.
Do we have an earthquake insurance?
Hell yeah.
Oh, nice. So,
even though the New Madrid fall in Missouri hasn't gone off in over 100 years, in my mind, it's due. So we better insure it.
Yeah. All right, cool. I didn't know that. You learn something every day.
But since we have earthquake insurance, if the New Madrid goes off and our whole portfolio's done, we're going to be cash rich.
And we also have loss of rent insurance in our hazard insurance.
Right.
So if that
happens, we're going to still be collecting rent.
Yeah.
And the difference between cash flow insurance and loss of rent insurance is this is insurance for people just not paying.
Yes.
Loss of rent is the house has been damaged, so the tenant has to move to a hotel. And if I was a tenant, I would make sure their landlord has that insurance because they can help them pay for the hotel at that point.
Good luck Good luck trying
Right.
to teach that to people. Libertarian Moses is trying to save the world again, everybody.
I'm just too big of a giver. I can't.
So let's actually get into this. What is this rental insurance? Break this down for me. You met this guy Charles on
Right.
On
So
Facebook,
Charles
Facebook
Ace
Soccer.
he has a great idea. You know, you and me, we are real estate investors, and we run a lease-to-own business. We're not debt collectors, and we don't know how to chase judgments. And so when we have evicted people and had judgments against them, we've been letting it go. And so that's all the lost rent. It's gone. With rental insurance, and Charles, I'll talk to you. I don't know if we should be selling this as rental insurance. Let's sell it as cash flow insurance. Go ahead and even change
I'm going to retype it. Yeah, let's do this.
Because there are rental insurance programs out there, but it's like 10 cents on the dollar. It's worthless.
Cash flow insurance.
So for a small premium, this company now does our credit checks and does our background checks before we put a tenant buyer in the house.
Okay.
And if they bless off and think it's a good enough risk for a $200 premium a year, we pay them that premium. And if that tenant is late, they will then pay us the rent. So on the 5th, we have to notify them that the tenant is late.
Okay.
If by the 20th, we need to then send them to eviction. And once Alliance Rent Protection has seen that there is an eviction in place, they will then send us our missing rent.
All of it.
For the month.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So best case scenario, the tenant was just a little late, pays us that rent. At that point, the money Alliance sent to us, we just send back to Alliance, no questions asked. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
Worst case scenario, the tenant buyer goes to complete eviction. We get a judgment with them.
Yep.
Alliance has been paying us the rent every month, so our cash flow has been protected. Once the tenant is out, we keep the rent Alliance has given us, and we give them the judgment, and they go after the money.
Got it. So they do they collect themselves, or do they sell it off to a collection agency, or who knows how they operate?
I don't know, and I don't care.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, cool.
And so this is an intro video. We're going to do this in November of 2016. Our hopes are high that this is helping us make us more anti-fragile, and but we're not going to give them the full joint op seal of approval quite yet.
Yeah, we've had they've greenlighted 2 of our tenants so far, right?
Right.
And we're going to start implementing their application with all of our new tenants going forward. And anytime our existing tenants come through, we're going to have them fill out the app. So for a small cost, we can potentially protect ourselves from a huge downside. We have gone back historically. I've looked at what happened to rents in 2008, 2009, the aftermath of the real estate bubble bursting. And if you look at it, in most markets, the rents either stayed flat or they actually increased, which is kind of an interesting phenomenon. But if you think about it, it makes sense. You have a lot of folks who maybe bought a house that they couldn't afford, or had a business or a good paying job that was supporting that mortgage payment, and they lost their job, and they had to go from being a homeowner to being a tenant. So there's in times of economic turmoil, there's a wave of people that move from the homeowner side of the equation to the tenant side of the equation. And so basically it's simple supply and demand. Demand increases, and so rents will stay the same or go up in that scenario. So we've built our business to survive as many fluctuations as possible. And I think we're going to be doing all right if there is another downturn, because we're going to be able to.
I go to sleep at night hoping you're right about that, and that's what happened in 2008. But if there's a credit or a cash crunch, this cash flow insurance will come in very handy at that point.
Yep, exactly. So we will follow up here with another video if we've actually had to exercise our option. And pay the premium, or we actually pay the premium already, but get the insurance. We'll let you know how that whole process works, and give you our final recommendations at that point. Yeah. Any other closing thoughts, Jimmy?
Nope.
Okay, want to find out more, go to joinoutsproperties@gmail.com, call Jimmy, go to joinoutsproperties.com to find out about cash flow investments here in St. Louis, Missouri. and go to autopilotassets.com if you want to learn how to structure your own deals in your own backyard. Thank you. Have a good one.